Have you ever really thought about why things cost what they do? I mean, why is a fancy coffee $5 but a soda is just one? And more importantly, why do we just pay it? We're surrounded by price tags every single day, but there's a whole world of strategy hiding behind that little number. So let's get into it, because it's not just about money, it's a story. You know, for any business, setting a price is one of the trickiest and most important things they do. It's this incredible balancing act, right? If you go too high, you risk pushing customers away. But if you go too low, well, you could be leaving a ton of money on the table, or worse, actually losing money with every single sale. It's like walking a tightrope between what people will pay and what you need to make.
So how do they land on that final number? Because it's clearly not just about adding up costs and slapping on a profit margin. Nope. There's a much deeper game being played here, a whole strategy designed to influence how we think, how we feel, and ultimately, what we buy.
Okay, so when a company's figuring this out, they basically come to a fork in the road. They have to pick one of two very different paths, two totally opposite philosophies for pricing. One way is all about being exclusive and premium. The other, it's all about getting the product into as many hands as possible.
All right, so let's break those two down. First up, you've got something called market skimming. The idea here is to launch with a really high price. You're trying to skim the most profitable customers, the early adopters, the ones willing to pay a premium right off the top. Then there's the complete opposite, market penetration. Here you launch with a super low price. Think about a new streaming service with a crazy cheap introductory offer. The goal isn't to make a killing on day one. It's about grabbing a massive chunk of the market, fast. It's a long game, sacrificing profit now for market dominance later.
So let's make this real. A perfect example of skimming comes from the 90s. A Spanish cava producer wanted to launch their sparkling wine in Argentina. Now, they could have tried to be the cheapest, but they didn't. They wanted to be seen as the best, the most prestigious brand right out of the gate.
And this is where the psychology comes in, because they knew something really important. A price tag is more than just a cost. It's a signal. A high price screams quality. It suggests exclusivity. Before you even pop the cork, that higher price is already telling you, hey, this is the good stuff.
So what did they do? It was pretty bold, actually. They looked at the top brand in the market, Shandong, which was selling for about $20 a bottle. And then they priced their own cava 20% higher, just like that. That one move instantly vaulted them into the premium category. It created this sense of prestige that a cheaper price just couldn't buy.
Okay, but a move like that is a huge gamble, right? It only works if you really get what's going on inside your customers' heads. Because it's not about how good your product actually is, it's all about how good customers perceive it to be. And that's where we shift from business strategy to pure psychology.
But how do you even begin to figure that out? How do you map something as messy and complicated as human perception? You can't just throw a dart in the dark and hope for the best. You need a tool. You need a way to literally see the battlefield inside the customer's mind. And here it is. It's called a perceptual map. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a map of perception. It's a visual way to see where different brands live in the minds of consumers. So just imagine a simple graph. Maybe you've got price going from low to high on the bottom axis and quality from low to high on the side axis. A perceptual map plots out exactly where every single brand sits on that grid according to your customers. Suddenly, you can see the entire market in one picture.
Okay, so how do you use this thing? This is where it gets really fun. There's this famous business simulation called MarkStrat that lots of students use, and it frames the whole thing perfectly. Forget all the complicated data for a second. Think of it like you're playing a game of darts.
So, here's how the game works. It's basically a three-step process. Step 1, you figure out where the targets are on the dartboard. These represent what different groups of customers, or segments, are looking for. You know, their ideal sweet spot. Step 2, you look at where all the darts have already landed. These are the existing brands and where people currently see them. And finally, step 3, you aim. You try to position your brand, your dart, to hit the bullseye of one of those customer targets.
All right, so once you have this map, this dartboard, you're not guessing anymore. You can see the whole playing field, and that's when you can start making some really smart, strategic moves.
And this map shows you two really important things almost immediately. First, you might spot a huge market opportunity. That's a target on the board with no darts anywhere near it. It's a group of customers whose needs are just not being met by anyone. But you can also see the opposite problem, a brand that's lost in limbo.
This is a dart that's landed on a part of the board where there are no targets. Sometimes this happens because, well, the product is just a bad idea, but sometimes it's trickier. There was this company, Style Showers, that made this amazing, innovative new product, but they ended up in limbo because the plumbers, the guys who actually install the showers, didn't want to learn a new system. So the customers were there, but the dart could never quite hit the board because of a roadblock.
So what do you do if your dart is in the wrong spot? Well, you've got two main ways to move it. The first is to change the product itself, the reality. You actually re-engineer it, add new features, whatever it takes. This is what you have to do if you need to make a big leap in how people see you. The other option, you change the message. Use marketing, advertising, communication to shift the perception of the product you've already got. This works best for smaller tweaks and adjustments.
But here's the kicker, the one thing that makes this game so challenging. That bullseye you're aiming for, it's not stationary. It's constantly moving. Customer tastes change, new trends emerge. What people want this year might be totally different next year. And the truly great companies, they know this. They're not just looking at the map once, they're watching it constantly, tracking how those targets are shifting, and always adjusting their aim to stay on target.
So, the next time you're out and you see a price tag on something, pause for a second. Because now you know it's not just a number, it's a strategy. It's a dart aimed at a very specific target. And you'll be able to see the invisible game that's being played for a tiny piece of real estate inside your own mind.